The legendary warrior awakens. The sky split with black lightning, the clouds swirling with smoke and ash. The battlefield was already littered with scorched earth and shattered stone, remnants of the creatures that had poured from the rift. Ashenheart, last of the Ember Oath, stood at the edge of the chaos, unyielding. He had faced beasts that could rend mountains, storms that could drown armies, and yet he remained undefeated. His gauntlets glowed with molten energy, veins of fire tracing his arms, his eyes burning with the calm fury of a warrior who had lived and fought through 1,000 battles. Tonight, he would face the rift again, a tear in reality, opened by forces unknown, through which the first Dreadshard and Shadowmow had emerged, the monsters, born of chaos. The Dreadshard were not mere beasts, they were fragments of the earth itself, warped by the rift's dark energy. Crystalline bodies with jagged edges, molten veins pulsing through their forms, semi-sentient and adaptive. Every strike could split mountains, every step cracked stone. The Shadowmow were born from the void, creatures of living darkness that warped space itself. Their tendrils could tear through air and matter, striking without warning. They could dissolve into shadows, vanish, and reappear from any dark corner, reacting instinctively to Ashenheart's attacks. The rift itself pulsed with malevolent energy, a scar in the world left by unknown forces whose motives were shrouded in mystery. For now, it remained open, a dark promise that one day the world might face it again. The first clash, unleashing legend. Ashenheart moved like a storm incarnate. Flames danced along his arms, wind coiled around his form, stone rose beneath his feet. The first Dreadshard lunged, its jagged claws aiming to crush him. Ashenheart spun mid-air, punching through the crystal with a shockwave that splintered stone and molten glass alike.
I am the Last Ember!
He roared, voice echoing across the battlefield. Every strike sent pulses through the ground. Every punch reverberated like thunder. Shadowmows lunged from the darkness, but Ashenheart met them with wind blasts and molten punches, tearing the tendrils apart and scattering shadows like smoke before a storm. Hours passed, and still he fought. Beyond exhaustion, beyond mortal limits, only his will carried him forward. Punch after punch, shattered crystal, sent tendrils screaming into the air and left shockwaves that split the battlefield. Fire, wind, and stone became extensions of his body, his fury unstoppable. The endless battle, mythic fury. He pushed himself further. Blood, sweat, and molten energy coated his body, yet he fought. Each Dreadshard he destroyed shattered like a volcanic explosion. Every Shadowmow he struck dissolved into screams of voided darkness. Time blurred. The night grew long.
I will fight until the last light dies.
He could not falter, not when the world itself seemed to teeter on the edge of oblivion. His arms ached beyond feeling, muscles torn, lungs burning, yet his fists continued to crash into monsters with world-shaking force. With every punch, a crystal shattered, a tendril recoiled, the ground cracked, the wind screamed. Ashenheart's legend was written in every strike. Dawn and death, standing as a legend. As the first light of dawn broke, the battlefield lay littered with shattered crystals, voided shadows, and scorched earth. Ashenheart's body was spent beyond measure, yet he did not fall. Standing tall, fists still glowing with molten power, he faced the last of the monsters. His final punch shattered the largest Dreadshard into molten shards, the Shadowmows recoiling into the shadows, not gone, but driven back for now. Ashenheart exhaled a final victorious breath, and the warrior died standing, pride etched into every scarred feature. The monsters were driven back, but the rift pulsed ominously in the distance, waiting. One day it would awaken again, students and legacy, a new beginning. From the nearby hills, his students arrived, young warriors who had trained under his strict hand and fierce love. They fell to their knees, tears streaming, staring at their master, dead but unbroken, heroic beyond words.
He stood, even in death, one whispered.
Another placed a hand on their chest.
I swear, I will carry the Ember forward.
They were diverse. Lyra, quick and precise, master of wind magic, who had learned to anticipate Ashenheart's moves before they happened. Taryn, a brute of immense strength, capable of channeling earth energy, but still inexperienced in controlling it fully. Varian Ashvale, quiet and strategic, a prodigy in elemental manipulation, who had memorized every lesson Ashenheart had taught. Together, they pledged to protect his legacy, to defend the realms when the rift inevitably opened again. The ashes around them swirled in the morning breeze as the sun rose over the battlefield. A new story had begun. The students looked to each other and the horizon, knowing their journey would be harder than anything Ashenheart had faced, but they would rise, carrying his will, his fire, and his legend into the world.